Quran smite his neck. Example number 6. The terrorists are a minority that hijacked Islam. This allegation is very popular among Islamists, but totally ridiculous and untrue. Combined with hypocrisy and much naive ignorance of the West, it runs rampant. True, there are radical among Arabs and Muslims just as are in all societies. But they are minority, weeds. The majority is peace-loving and one must not generalize. However, to observe this, the relevant questions are as follows. If this is the true situation, how do we know this? Are there any corroborating studies and data to substantiate the views, or it is only our mirror image personality? Even if there is a different majority exists, is its voice heard and does it influence the shaping of policy and decision-making processes? Or we only supply excuses to the horrific phenomenon we don't understand culturally? How many pressure groups, interest groups, NGOs are there which actively function against Islamic fanaticism and jihad terrorism? To what extent do they influence? If there are moderate, peace-loving political leaders, where are they? What influence do they have? Is their voice heard? Where is the public opinion office, the political parties, the communication media, which prove there are other voices? Who controls Islamic communities in the streets? Which voice is heard and is appeared in the communication media? Who is admired by the youth? What kind of education the baby-born kids get from in the family, in the school, in the streets, in the mosque? How many peace movements, pro-peace demonstrations, masses marching and rolling against terrorism and violence can be identified? If there are, what influence do they have? The true reality is that there are no citizen and no moderate voice. They are only silent because they are all silent, seeing the outrageous, brutal, inhuman terrorist attacks, and they do not act against the savage, inhuman behavior and practice. Their silence, even their behavior, means aiding and abating the culture of hatred of the outside world without even knowing why. Example number 7. Poverty educational syndrome. The distorted perception in the West, nurtured by Islamist assertion, is that terrorism derives from economic distress and social despair. So, removing poverty and misery will put an end to terrorism. Yet, this is totally false and exactly our mirror image and our distorted perception. All along history, poverty did not lead to terrorism, perhaps to crime. The modern terrorists are highly educated and rich. Amongst the most Islamic terrorist organizations, there are doctors and engineers more than in high-tech organizations. The real cause for terrorism are apocalyptic ideology and religious zealotry that stem from Islam, and the fanatic culture that stem from Arab behavior. Poverty has nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism. High education is the most important ingredient. Professor Bernard Lewis. We live in a time when great efforts have been made to falsify the record of the past and to make history a tool of propaganda, when governments and religious movements are busy rewriting history as they would like their followers to believe it was. All this is very dangerous to our humanity. Here are a few quotations which exhibit Islamic world ambition, and please, I ask you again not to laugh. Not to laugh. Sheikh Dr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi, Imam who returned to Europe as a conqueror and as victor after being expelled from it twice. Islam returned to Europe this time by dawah and not by jihad, and the European will convert to Islam and disseminate Islam in the world. Islam will return to the United States and the whole world will become Muslim. Abdul Karim Fatlala, a Lebanese Imam. When Columbus reached America, he encountered Arab-speaking natives. The Indians were Arabs and America was ruled by the Arabs. This is the reason why Columbus had 2 Arabs to interpret for him. By that, America belongs to the Arab and it is the right time to bring it back to its fold. Tajuddin al-Hilali, Australian Chief Mufti. Australia was firstly found out and inhabited by Muslim Afghans from Afghanistan. and it is the time to bring it back to the Islamic fold. Abu Yahya Abu Libi, Al-Qaeda leader, jihad will continue until they all submit to the religion of Allah, yield to its law and surrender to its rule. The entire world must be ruled by Islam, and no grain of soil is an exception. Sheikh Ali al-Fakir, Jordanian Minister of Religious Endowment, Palestinians in origin, we declare that Palestine from the river to the sea is an Islamic land, and that Spain, Andalusia, is also the land of Islam. All Islamic lands of Dar al-Islam, from China to Andalusia, that were occupied by the enemies, will once again become Islamic. Yunus al-Asqar, Hamas Member of Parliament and cleric, Rome will be conquered soon, as was prophesied by our Prophet. Rome will be an advanced post for the Islamic conquest, which will spread from Europe to the Americas. Abu Ala al-Mawdudi, the goal of Islam is to rule the entire world and to submit all mankind to the faith of Islam. Any nation or power that gets in the way of that goal, Islam will fight and destroy. This is jihad. Sayyid Qutb, the liberating struggle of jihad will not cease until Islam is the only supreme religion in the world. Now, to understand this, there is Abdallah Azzam. I think not much of you know about Abdallah Azzam. He is the most important person in Al-Qaeda. He founded Al-Qaeda. And Abdallah Azzam said, this is a wonderful quotation, "The life of Islamic Ummah is solely dependent on the ink of the scholar, which is dawah, and the blood of its martyrs, which is jihad. What is more beautiful than delimiting the map of Islamic history with two lines? The black color that writes the Ummah's history by its scholars, and the red color that shapes its border by the Mujahideen's blood." The last vivid example of Arab Islamic dawah is perpetuated right now, because the next horrific event is called Durban II. Under the auspices of the United Nations Human Rights Council, it will be held in Geneva in April 2009. Now, Durban I in 2002 has shown its ugly anti-Semitic Nazi face against Israel, depicting it as an apartheid state. However, Durban II is a catastrophe the Arabs and Muslims prepare for the free world at large. The preparing committee headed by peace-loving, democratic, liberal states like Libya, Cuba, Pakistan, and Sudan has prepared a document of 605 articles in which the central focus is Islamophobia. Islamophobia is presented as a new form of racism, like Nazism, incited through defamation of Islam. The conference will recommend, through the affirmation of United Nations institutions, that local, national, international law and human rights covenant will be reviewed and amended so that defamation of Islam is made criminal offense. This means a vicious assault on the free world's freedoms and other essential democratic rights. These atrocious 7th century culturally oriented